Okay guys, I've got the GE radio model M-52 back on the bench. Let me get the knobs removed and the fasteners that hold the chassis in. Let's pull out the chassis and take a look at things underneath and on top and see what lies ahead on the restoration. The three knobs, they appear to be original or at least matching. I'll look at some other examples online. And one more knob for the tuning assembly itself. Just your typical 4 fasteners holding the chassis in place. Looks like a fairly clean electrodynamic loudspeaker. You can see the speaker plug off to the right. I'll go ahead and unplug that, and we should be able to slide the chassis out. The male connectors back to the left, and on the plug itself, the female. I can tell it's a well-made chassis, very heavy. Of course, a lot of it has to do with the big old power transformer. A look inside the cabinet. Here's a top-down view. The old line cord, a lot of dirt and dust, maybe some rust or something around the power transformer. I'll have to look at that closer under some better lighting. Let me go ahead and get the old line cord removed. Just get that out of the way. It's just taking up space here. And look at this other wire itself and see what it attaches to as well. See where someone spliced a rubber cord back onto the original cord at some point during its life. And this is nothing more than the antenna lead. Well, I should say ground, but you have an antenna post on the back in addition to a ground location. So now we can see the chassis much better. We've got the antenna coil. This should be the first stage of the radio. And as we work our way through, you can see the electrolytic capacitors. And I'm assuming the IF transformers are hidden underneath these cans, possibly. Another electrolytic over here on this side. And rectifier tube here closest to the power transformer. A 2-section variable capacitor or condenser. There's some of that mess on the chassis there near the power transformer. Maybe where some mice decided to play. Let's flip this over and look underneath, see what we got. Well, it looks pretty clean underneath. I'll take this thing outside and blow some of the crud off the top. You can see the old capacitors. This thing may be actually untouched for the most part. A little closer look at the chassis. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's untouched? Or maybe a few of the components have been replaced at some point in time. You can see the old Candome resistor. Be interesting to see if it's any good. Probably not. All the resistors appear to be laid out up in this area, except for a few down by the tube sockets themselves. An interesting design. The schematic itself references back to an RCA schematic for reference. Do you guys think this was a Canadian version of the receiver, or was it made here in the States? Let me know your thoughts on that. This thing's built like a tank. Like I said, extremely heavy. Something else interesting on the receiver, you guys probably caught that as well. Every vacuum tube is shielded, with the exception, of course, of the rectifier tube. You can see the old tuning dial as well. Looks pretty faded out. A lot of different colors in there. Not sure if that's by design or not. And you can see the pointer itself. That's quite interesting, the way it's attached to the shaft itself of the tuning condenser or capacitor. Large transformer for sure. Well, maybe that looks a little bit better. I think I'm going to break this particular one down. The Emerson that I just completed was a lot cleaner. This one looks like a barn find. I'll do this off camera, but I'm going to go ahead and get the tubes removed, these shields, and if I find anything different than my reference schematic, I'll let you guys know. I'll have to go back and reference the schematic, but I don't see anything out of line here with what I saw earlier. The 6 alpha 7 residing here. Of course, the giveaway going back to the front section of the tuning condenser and the antenna coil. The IF amp being the 6 delta 6, 6 Baker 7, the detector tube, the type 41 audio tube, the output tube, and of course the type 80 rectifier residing here. So I've got capacitors here, this location, and I think underneath these locations my IF transformers. You can see all the crud there on the chassis around the power transformer and on top of the transformer. I'm going to go ahead and check the power transformer just to make sure it's good. Look at DC resistance. If I find anything out of the ordinary, I'll let you guys know. And I'll probably go ahead and get it removed from the chassis so I can do some better cleaning on the chassis. In addition, the same for the tuning condenser or variable capacitor here as well. And looking at the primary, 11.5, 11.6 ohms, that looks good. Let's extrapolate the high voltage that we will find once we power up the receiver. You can do that quickly without applying any voltage, just using the LCR45 meter. Hey guys, I've shared this before. Let me show you a method and procedure I can use to extrapolate what I think the high voltage will be of the power transformer, again in an unloaded state. This will get me in the ballpark, definitely probably plus or minus 5%. Using the LCR45 meter, I'm going to switch this over, use the magnitude of the signal. You can see it says mag phase. And I'm on the primary side with the switch turned on, of course. And then you'll notice I've got a jumper down here. I'm shorting across the plate, the entire high voltage winding. So we'll take note of that number. We'll call it 332.8 ohms. Now I'll switch the meter over. We'll look at the plates themselves with the primary shorted, and then we'll just use the square root of the numbers and closely mirror what the turns ratio of the transformer is. From that I can extrapolate the number of turns of wire in the transformer. Let me see if I can hold the meter here where you guys can see that, and I'll just touch the plates. Again, this will be plate to plate, reading across the entire high voltage winding. And you can see it bouncing around. I'll just call it 15.4K ohms. Let's go to the calculator. Okay guys, looking back at the math, again I'm just using the leakage inductance method with the LCR45 meter, looking at magnitude, which would be real similar to the impedance. You guys saw where I had the high voltage side across the entire winding, the plates shorted, and when I read the magnitude on the primary side, 332.8 ohms, and then I removed the short from the high voltage side, relocated that to the primary side, then read the leakage inductance across the entire high voltage winding of 15.4K. Taking the square root of those two numbers, again the square root of 15.4 divided by the 332.8 comes to 6.8 to 1. So knowing that without an overhead, again this would be an unloaded transformer, the winding number would actually be higher because there will be an overhead added due to the voltage loss due to the resistance of the wire. So maybe 5 to 8%, maybe even high as 10%. This is a pretty hefty transformer, so probably 5 to 8% overhead would need to be added. But you can see I can take the turns ratio times the voltage, so I would have 34 turns min. That, again, that number would be higher. Same thing for the 6.3 volt winding, 6.8 times 6.3, 43 plus turns. And then for the high voltage side, 6.8 times the modern day voltage of 120 volts. You can see that gives me 816 volts. I'll divide that by 2. So for the transformer itself, this guy would probably be somewhere around 408 unloaded. And I can calculate the primary itself would be the 816. That would be the min number of turns at 120 volts. Then to calculate the number of turns for the high voltage winding, I can take the 408 times the 6.8, so each winding, each half of the high voltage winding would be 2,774 turns. Again, -0-2774. Again, that number would be higher due to IR losses. So are the transformer wires spliced or just frayed where it comes through the chassis? You can see the tape that's been placed on.